What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to somebody who is, probably one of the best pure wrestlers that our country, the U.S., has ever produced. Definitely on the West Coast scene for sure. He is your pal, my pal. He is Kal Jack. Cal, what's
Yeah,
going on, my man?
Woods, man, just hanging out in the shack, the shed. This is where I like to do my conversations because it's peaceful. And to be honest, I'm not that far from outside. There's a little door on the side right here. I can look outside the window. I can see the neighbor's place. I can see cloudy, smoky, shitty blue skies because of all the damn fires where I live. But regardless, it ain't that bad. My dog's sitting in his kennel right next to me. My dog's Zero. So, man, we're good to go. Other than that, I'm doing well. How you doing, brother?
Oh man, I love it. I love it. And out of all of the cool and crazy and gnarly things that you've done, probably one of the gnarliest that you're going to get yourself into is actually this Sunday on Fight TV for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport.
Hell yeah, man. I'm on an 8-month hiatus from wrestling or pro wrestling, and I'm like, man, someday I just want to do Bloodsport. I want to do Bloodsport. It seems like it's right up my alley with what I know and what I can do. But, who knows when I'll be able to do it. I sit and ponder for 8 months, and then I see that it's available like October 11th, which is the day before my birthday, October 12th. So it's like the spirits, the pro wrestling gods have given me this gift to fight in this blood sport, this amazing thing. The only thing that sucks is I haven't done anything pro wrestling related. I haven't done any matches in 8 months, So, hey, it is what it is. You take your opportunities as you go. My dog doesn't care, so he's leaving right now. Fine, Zero, go. He's walking out. But, whatever. But you have to appreciate Bloodsport. See, there he is right there. Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. So, no, man, I'm just excited to compete and just get in the ring and just do my thing. I haven't done that in too long. Too long. So, I'm excited, brother.
Yeah, well, happy early birthday. And it's actually coinciding. The Bloodsport was actually coinciding with my wife's birthday. So I'm definitely going to take a lot of time of October 11th to dedicate it to her. Otherwise, I'd be divorced, and that's not a good thing. But, the latter part of the day is probably going to be Bloodsport. It is Bloodsport.
Are we good? Of course, that's what happens. As soon as we get once I can't hear you, buddy.
No, you broke up. How about this? Jump out of the room and then jump back in, and sometimes that helps.
We were doing well for so long.
Yeah, what's good, party people? If you guys don't already know, hi, I'm According to Woods, and this is a podcast that I do, and I do a lot of MMA and pro wrestling, and just kind of getting into the hearts, the souls, the minds. I might have taken that from Colt Cabana. Sorry, Colt, but I got a pin. But yeah, just getting you closer to the personalities that are a part of the wild and crazy world of combat sports, and even some not so combat sports stuff. So if you haven't already done so, I warmly encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to According to Woods on both Facebook and YouTube, because I do, if you like things like this is things that I do. So how about that? Speaking about how about that, Kal Jack is back.
We're back, man. I went on a little journey there. I went in the dark pits of YouTube purgatory, or this podcast purgatory. I was in the.
I was going to say parts unknown for sure.
It was definitely parts unknown. I was in Death Valley. I was hanging out with Taker. it was interesting. We just were riding off, and you just give me old time stories about the road. But now here we are. You brought me out of that, so we're back.
Yeah. Yeah, right. We are. No, you were saying. After an 8-month hiatus, right? And your first, booking back is Bloodsport, and I love it because you're like, hey, you know what? After all this time, I'm cut out. This is Bloodsport is exactly what I want to do, and that just shows the meticulous nature in which Bart Josh Barnett essentially put together with this card. Because you're not the only one. Literally everyone that I've talked to, and I've talked to more than half the card at this point, has said that this is exactly what I need. This is right up my alley. So I mean, it's kind of cool that Barnett, I mean, he's a part of every bit of this, right? Booking talent, doing all of this stuff. And I mean, up until this one, he was actually competing in them.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was trying to follow along with a lot of the blood sports, and I was like, man, Barnett fights in every one. I wonder who he has in this one. I mean, I was super curious to see, and then all of a sudden he comes out with the the promo pictures of who's going against who, and I was like, there's no Barnett. Where's Barnett? So, but he's stepping out on this one. So I don't know. I wonder if he's doing commentary or he's going to do some backstage coaching or something. I wonder what his role is going to be, because it's not just simply he's got to be involved in some kind of way. So he's going to be involved. Hopefully, am I lined up? Is my camera the shits right now?
No, 100%, and it's kind of cool, right? No, it's it broke up a little bit there, but I could see your smiling face.
Oh, okay, I was just seeing if we were. That's perfect. That's how it always looks.
No worries. Yeah, no, but I mean, it's cool, and I'm so thankful that Barnett has this kind of platform. Something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because
my phone. Let me check out.
No worries. Oh, isn't that a glorious face? This might be frozen in time, but he's oh so dapper, oh so grizzled. Just saying. Hopefully we haven't lost him. But let's see. Let's do this. Bing, bing, bing. So, if you guys don't already know, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, October 11th, Sunday night, live on Fight TV, that is a part of the Game Changer Wrestling Collective. There's a litany of shows going down in Indiana. That is at I believe it's the State Fair in Indiana, right? And you're going to see Bloodsport. They've got there's Effie. If you know who Effie is, he's got his own show on Bloodsport. There's Shimmer, I believe, which Allison Kay will actually be doing double duty in terms of her participation in Sunday's event. So if you guys haven't already done so, I would warmly encourage you to shoot over to Fight TV and download. Well, actually, purchase either the GCW collective in its entirety to get all of the fine shows that they're putting on, but then also Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which you can get a la carte for $19.99. Bam, and Kal Jak will be competing on such card against Eric Hammer.
You know what? I'm in the mountains. That's it. I'm in the mountains. That's why this isn't working so well. The reception in the mountains, the clouds are blocking something right now, but we're good now. We should be good now. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just hoping. My camera side might be a little bit delayed, but we'll worry about that. We'll cross that bridge another day.
You're out in the woods. I mean, this is impeccable for, I mean, Grizzly mountaineering. I mean, usually we get no reception, so this is actually impeccable. So, just saying.
I'm in the right now because this would have the best reception. Usually it does. Okay, this should be good. Now. You know what? This has to be an interesting interview. If it wasn't a few fuck ups, maybe a few good stories and all that, it wouldn't make for a complete Kal Jak interview. So I'm glad we should have it good now. I think, hope. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right, we're doing good now, Wood.
Yeah, damn right we are.
Oh, see, look at that little fuck up. Now we're good. Nothing impossible. Perfection's impossible. All right, we got this. I mean, your listeners are probably all super annoyed right now.
So I'm gonna dial it back, right? Because obviously, I mean, most people in the know might know, but if for those who don't, you are probably one of the most accomplished wrestlers that I'd say the state of California has ever produced, like homegrown. And you have one of the most colorful kind of experiences in that. But how did you find, wrestling?
I didn't find I was forced into it. My dad made me wrestled, and because my dad wrestled growing up, and he wrestled in college at Cal Poly, and he didn't just fall in love with the sport. He got obsessed with the sport. So he's the type of dude where he has to find his success, and he eventually, he had to call it. But when he didn't find his success, he's like, I'm going to have a son, and he's going to be successful. So I was wrestling no matter what. And my dad, he has a pretty colorful history too when it comes to wrestling. Like just earlier on Twitter, someone posted a video of Gary Albright just tossing people around, and someone's like, "Oh, if you don't know who Gary Albright is, blah 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 blah." And it's funny because when I was in developmental for WWE, Rob Naylor, who was working in the office for WWE, he came up to me and he suggested, "Hey, you should watch a lot of Gary Albright." And I'm like, okay. So I was watching a lot of this stuff in Japan. And I remember my dad asked me, like, how do you like it? What do you think? And is there anybody you're kind of attached to that you like watching wrestling? I'm like, yeah, I heard about Gary Albright. And my dad goes, Gary Albright? I used to train with that guy for the Olympics in 1984. And I'm like, why do you just tell me this now? Like, why do you say details like this from me? Like, why can't you tell me this? And he's like, oh, Gary's a cool guy. He's from Montana. I told me about Montana, and we drank beers, and we used to train. My dad was a weight class below Gary Albright. Gary Albright was, I don't know what the weight class was. There was Greco-Roman, but they used to work out with each other. My dad was a 220-pounder. I think Gary was, obviously he's a heavyweight. He's a big dude. But, they trained with each other, and then he told me that they got kicked out of the USA camp the same time. I don't know what for, but they got the boot the same time. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, he knew Gary Albright before he passed away. They were good buddies apparently.
Yeah, and it's funny because Gary Albright, because much of his career was in Japan, right? But as a part of the original UWF. But I mean, he was a member, technically, of the Anoa'i family, having married family, and he gets left off of the markings. There people will mention The Rock, or obviously Alpha and Sika, and Roman Reigns and what have you. But I mean, Gary Albright was married into the Anoa'i family. He's just as much an Anoa'i as let's say Jimmy Snuka, right? And speaking of your dear old dad, your dad has wins over Dr. Death Steve Williams and Dan the B7. Like,
yeah, he's got some pretty notable wins. And the Dr. Death win is actually, I think I love this story because he wrestled Dr. Death in the Cliff King Invitational. And what used to be in Las Vegas, but it was in Arizona at the time. And he caught Dr. And back in the day for heavyweights in the the late 70s, early 80s, there were no weight limit. So Dr. Death was this badass D lineman, badass just football player. and weighing 300 plus, just this big ogre. And my dad was weighing like, maybe 230, 240. So he wrestles Dr. Death in the tournament. Dr. Death, like, bull rushes my dad. Just my dad out of the way, hits an angle, takes down Dr. Death, rides Dr. Death on the ground, keeps him tired, just throws in a half, ends up pinning Dr. Death in the tournament. Now, that was early on in the tournament. My dad goes on to the semis, loses in the semis. I forget who he lost to, but ends up wrestling Dr. Death for third and fourth again in the same day in the tournament. Same thing. Dr. Death tries to bull rush my dad. Dad takes him down, tires him out, puts a half on him, pins him. So my dad beat Dr. Death twice in the same day, which is pretty cool. And that's another guy where my dad hides information from. He didn't, I found out much later in life about his victory over Dr. Death. And I'm like, I'm trying to get some cool points here in the Performance Center in WWE, and you're holding out on information that could benefit me, So it is what it is. I'm glad I found out, but that to me is just like, that's such a cool story. Who pins Dr. Death twice in the same day? And Dr. Death is a legend, in Japan and everything he's done. And, that I always love that story, big Oklahoma Hoosier, and just my dad was able, this California guy from Cal Poly just ends up pinning him twice, this football stud. So that story cracks me up. Yeah, he's got a win. But here's something that like Seth talked about in your interview that he got wrong. He did wrestle Dan Severn. He didn't beat him though. He had Severn on his back like the whole first round, and then Severn is a cardio machine at that time, tired my dad out and beat him by a point. So he was close to beating Severn. Could have pinned him, but Severn got him tired and won by a point. He was up. I think he was up like 9-0. So,
but still, I mean, that's pretty damn cool. Either way,
yeah,
because both Hall of Famers, right? Both, I mean, your dad did something that, I mean, it took Ted DiBiase, $3 million man, like 3 years to do. So.
No. I mean, pretty cool little wins. I give him credit. So, yeah, man. I was, no matter what, I was going to wrestle. There was nothing I could do. I was forced to wrestle. I could have asked to do anything else. It wasn't going to happen. I was forever always going to wrestle because my dad was always so close beating certain guys, being an All-American, making the Olympic team, getting close to placing at Worlds. So it just wasn't in the cards for him. I think he never All-American, but he was close. He was right there. But he has, he's got that Dr. Death win. Gary Albright is such a cool workout partner to have. And like you said, he married into I don't even want to butcher their name, but married into the same family as the Fatus and The Rock and all those people. Like that's really sweet, So yeah, I was going to wrestle no matter what. And, I had a great amateur wrestling career for sure. I mean, there's definitely parts I would change and want to do better, but I mean, it's definitely been an adventure for sure, because right away when I was like 5 years old, I was going to amateur wrestling camps. My dad was sending me off to all these wrestling camps everywhere. I was just a young kid. And, I would have a couple friends with me, but you imagine like a 5-6-year-old, bunking up with 17, 16, 15-year-old kids. And just this little boy. It was terrifying. But in a way, it was a good life experience. I remember I brought that up to a couple people, and they're just like, what? You were just a little kid. Why would your dad do that? Just wanted me to get better at wrestling. Maybe a little too young. 5's a little too young. I wouldn't recommend any parent sending their kid and doing that. I'd wait till they're at least 10, 11, 12. But I don't know. My dad, that's just how my dad rolled. So tough dude, for sure. And a little tough on me, but it's all good now. I hear my dog shaking.
Well, I mean, to think about it, right? So, by comparison, Habib Nurmagomedov's dad was having him wrestle bears. So, your dad wasn't too bad off,
My dad could find a bear my size. I bet he'd make me wrestle it. I don't know. how often like Bede's dad did, you know. But he would, I guarantee he would, and you know what? It would fit Grizzly Kal Jack's moniker better if I did. So I'm gonna say, Dad, you should have found me a bear to wrestle with. Shame on you. Where's my bear? Why can't I be like the Eagle Khabib Nurmagomedov? It didn't, you know. It's ruining the gimmick now. So
Right? 100%. I mean, if you had a baby Kal Jak, you know, wrestling a bear, that would look great on 8x10s.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Kind of hear what's.
So one of the crazy things about it, I mean, obviously not just competing, right, but also some of the camps that you attended as a kind of way to give you more of an edge, you know, in your wrestling prowess. You've had some pretty crazy run-ins with, I mean, pretty much Hall of Famers.
Well, I think I mentioned to you off air. I'm trying to pick up. I think, but I told you off air that like when you're assigned a bunkhouse, you are assigned a camp counselor. And at one of the camps I attended to when I was like maybe 10, my camp counselor was Uriah Faber. So it was just, this is before Uriah Faber got in as big as he was in MMA. This is before he got into cage fighter. This is before he got into WEC. You know, this is before everything. So I knew Uriah Faber. I was just a little boy. And it's funny because at the same Uriah Faber was, you know, he was obviously taller and bigger than me. You know, I was in the 4 feet, you know, and he's like, what, maybe 5'4". So, you know, I looked up to Uriah for a couple of years, and eventually I outgrew him. But he was a dude that, like, he, you know, I knew him forever. And then he's from Sacramento originally. I think a lot of people know that. So he would come down to where I live in Vacaville. That's my home. So he would come coach us as little kids all the time because he could, and he liked the dads. The dads would pay him to run clinics, to coach us and stuff, and because he went to UC Davis and wrestled for Lenny Zaleski. And it was, you know, I got to know Uriah really, really well. And on time to time, I'll go down to Team Alpha Male in Sacramento and just roll with those guys, you know, whether it's like grappling, jiu-jitsu, or just do the wrestling practices. And I'll show some stuff as well. But I've known him forever. That's just a notable camp counselor I had growing up as a kid. Really cool dude. But, you know, here's a camp. Here's a story that you'll like. This is another camp my dad sent me to. It was called Athletes in Action. This is camp I did in the Bay Area. And I was like 9 or 10. And it's a Christian wrestling camp. And I'm not super religious or anything. You know, you don't have to be or whatever. It's to each his own. But I was at this wrestling Christian camp. And we found out that the main counselor that was going to be there, or the main clinician, or the guy who's going to show us the moves, was Kurt Angle. So this is back in like 98, 97. So we had Kurt Angle come right before he did WWE, and he came to show us some moves and stuff for like a couple days. And Kurt Angle shows up. He has all his hair jacked, big ass quads, just ripped dude, just terrifying. Now, you know, I was 9 or 10 at the time, and Kurt comes up, and you know, he just kind of showed some moves. And this is the one thing I always remember. Kurt asked, "Hey, does any of the kids want to come up here to demonstrate this shot I just hit? Like, who thinks they can come up and do the shot like I hit?" So I raised my hand. You know, I wanted to come and show if I can do this move like Kurt Angle. The kid who came up to demonstrate the move with, he goes first. He hits it. Kurt's like, "All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, how about you, kid?" So I hit it. Apparently, I did such a lousy job. He like kicked my butt. He goes, "Oh, sit down. You didn't follow, listen to anything I said." So Kurt Angle kicked my ass when I was 9 years old, before he did WWE, right after the Olympics. So I can say that Kurt Angle kicked my ass. There's quite a few people that kicked my ass, but that's one of them. But not you know, literally, but not figuratively.
You know, if you want to do if you want to do it like
You
a
mean
butterfly effect type deal, right? When you think about it,
yeah,
right? You went to a Christian, wrestling camp, right? And prior to obviously Kurt Angle's WWE endeavors, right? So theoretically speaking,
yeah.
if you remember in ECW, they did the whole kind of Raven, basically,
Grizzly.
what is it? Yeah, yes,
They put
on
so
the
on the cross.
cross.
Was it Sam? Cross. Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's what I'm talking about. He was at this Christian wrestling camp, and he goes to this ECW show. I guarantee, like a year later, he goes to the ECW show, and he's like, "This is too much for me." Like, that's a good point. I never put that together till just now. That's insane. But yeah, it was, and like that's the thing. At the time, he was super religious. So, man, crazy. Yeah, he used to go to Christian wrestling camps and try to like preach God and stuff. And just me, I just wanted to go to a wrestling camp with Kurt Angle there. You know, that's why my dad sent me. But
Yeah,
insane. I never thought about that. That's a good point.
I think it's just fun to kind of think about. Like maybe Kurt Angle was so pissed that he might mess up his booking as this kind of coach or whatever, and we might have seen him in ECW, a little bit sooner than we ended up seeing him back in 2007. So I don't know. Maybe it's a cool butterfly effect. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but even still, makes her a cool story.
I think they connect. I think they connect. You know, there's something there to be said. You know, for
Oh
sure.
no, I was just saying
Okay, hope we're lined up.
maybe if that angle hadn't occurred, with Raven and Statman, maybe we would have seen him in ECW a little bit more than a little sooner than we would have in 2007.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that was just like I know I didn't bring it up earlier on the when we were just chilling for the 10 minutes, but yeah, that was one incident where it's like, I was 10 years old, Kurt Angle, whoop, shitty move, kid, get out of here. He didn't say that, but still pretty funny. But no, it's just wrestling's so funny how it ties in with so many MMA guys that used to do wrestling in the past, or guys that were WWF guys that are WWE guys that used to do amateur wrestling, and they have such a big name in one sport, and they're able to translate to another sport, and it's just it leads you all over the place. And like since this is an MMA podcast, it's cool because there was in high school I wrestled in wrestled at Vaca High. We had a great high school team. I won state. My high school team won state. We're the most northern city ever to win state. So that got me some cool scholarship opportunities. And I ended up wrestling at Oregon State under Jim Zaleski. And since I'll keep it within the context of MMA, when I was in college, there was another coincidence where we were training freestyle in the off season. And I'm in this tournament. It's up in Washington area. It's a qualifier to the Olympic trials. And so I checked the brackets for my first match to see who I have. And I knew Daniel Cormier was in the tournament, but I'm just assuming this guy's going to go 211s. He's not going to go heavyweight. There's no way. And then I look at the brackets, and he's going heavyweight. And I'm like, what? How does this work? So no matter what, if you qualify at this tournament, you can wrestle any weight class at the Olympic trials. So first round, I get DC, and I'm just like, oh, this sucks. Because this is after he already went to the Olympics 1 year. So this is his second Olympic run. So I'm facing him his second Olympic run. Like, he's already an Olympian. So right off the bat, like, just feeling him out. And I'm only 19 at the time. So he's probably like 31, maybe 32. So he's got me by a few years. And I remember I almost get a go behind on him. And I panicked because I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm taking this dude. No way. Almost got to go behind. He turns over, he takes me down. And this is back when it wasn't like the points weren't continuous. It's like you win round by round. So he ends up beats me that round 6-0. He just turns me a bunch because, of course he does. The next round, actually, my dad was coaching me in the tournament, and my dad's like, "You were close on that takedown, Clay. Like, I think you can get him. Like, you can pop him out throw." And I was like, "I don't know, maybe." So DC ends up taking a shot. I catch him with a chest lock, and I pop him over, and I actually catch him on his back. Just real surprise throw, and I have DC there. And in a moment, I'm just like, no, fuck it. I might fucking pin this guy. So I catch him there. I turn over. It was a 4-point throw. So I got him for 4 points. And then he just like cross-faced me, fucking half me over and just pinned me in like 10 seconds after that. Like, he was pissed. He's like, fuck this kid, pin me, fuck you, get out of here. Like, how dare you score points on me? And then throughout the entire tournament, he murdered everyone. But my dad afterwards was like, Clay, I wish you didn't get pinned because at least you could say you scored points on DC. Now when people look at the brackets, just going to say pin. I'm like, I don't know. He was pissed. That wasn't supposed to happen. You know, like, there's no way that was supposed to happen. But I caught him, though. It was close. 4 points, you know. If I would have turned him maybe or something like that, I would have teched him. But, that was a pretty cool incident, was catching DC. But then, like, the following year, and I'm going to keep it MMA pro wrestling the whole time, you know. We have a transfer come into my college team. And we find out this transfer he was from Oregon. He wrestled at Iowa Central. Iowa Central is a big JUCO wrestling powerhouse. Then he ends up going to Iowa. Things didn't work out at Iowa, so then he ends up transferring to Oregon State and ends up being Colby Covington. So then Colby Covington was my team.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big one. For one of the most polarizing, if not the polarizing guy right now in the UFC world. So, you know, we have, you know, Colby's on the team, and the coaches know they got themselves a stud. Because in the past we've had so many guys just so up and down. It's so hard to keep the best West Coast guys for college wrestling in the West Coast. They branch out. All the best college guys branch out from the West Coast. So the fact that Colby came back to Oregon, that was a big deal. So Colby I think he was a junior. I was a sophomore. So he's a grade above me. And it's just, you know, interesting guy, to say the least. Very interesting dude. And it's funny that you see him now with this whole Trump gimmick, his whole demeanor, you know, just how he's just he's posing with all these hot chicks and shit. Whether he's friendly with them or not doesn't matter. You know, he's shaking hands with Trump or whatever. It's just crazy. And this is all shit not dealing with his fighting. But I was talking to one of my friends who was Colby's like number one training partner. Train with Colby every day. Colby would just beat the shit out of this guy relentlessly every day. And then, you know, Colby would probably wrestle this dude maybe 3-4 times a week. And then Colby would do the same to whoever his opponent was. And, you know, Colby ends up like making around the first junior. Then the senior year, he takes fifth, but really, he should have won the whole tournament. I think, you know, the guy he lost to, who was it? I forget who he lost to. He lost to from Oklahoma. I could be wrong, but then he ends up taking fifth. No, he had a good college career, and we both. And here's what's cool, because at the Pac-12 tournament, we both won Pac-12 at the same time. So we're the only two Pac-12 winners from our team. So at least I could say I could share that with them. We're both Pac-12 champs. So, fingers on.
Yeah, that's so nuts. And I mean, it's funny about Colby, because I mean, I think it's pretty widely known that it's because of pro wrestling that he, you know, inhabited that gimmick, because, you know, if it weren't for Dan Lambert taking the ATT guys, to Impact Wrestling,
Yeah.
a few years back when Colby was on the cusp of getting cut. I mean, who'd have thought we probably might have not even seen this gimmick at all?
Well, here's the thing though. I was living in Florida. He was living in Coconut Creek, Florida. So I was in W developmental when he was just getting the UFC. And I remember I drove down to see one of his fights. We hang out afterwards, but who are we hanging out with? Jorge Masvidal. So it was me, Colby, Jorge Masvidal. Yeah. So we were in Miami, going around Miami. It was all of us. So they were friendly. They were cool. And then Colby and I end up passing out at Jorge's place in his apartment. So I got to see where Colby lived. Colby was chilling, and Colby had his own room in Jorge's apartment. I slept on the floor in their TV room or whatever. So, and then Colby's putting over how much he loved Jorge. And there's pictures of them. They went to Oregon State, did wrestling training and stuff. So, and Colby's asking me, he's like, "What do you think about this WWE thing? I think you can do MMA." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, "No, it's too late. I'm already signed. I'm doing pro wrestling. Like, this is my thing." And he goes, "Well, we'll see about that, man." And then I'm watching as his career is going on. In the performance center, we have all these promo acting classes that we're taking. I texted him like, "Hey, man, you should come up with a gimmick or an idea." And he's like, "Well, I'll think about it," And so I think I brought some ideas up. I put it in his head, and then the next thing you know, he goes to him and AT&T and Dan Lambert, all those guys. They go to support Bobby Lashley at Impact. Then the wheels start turning with him. He asked me for some promo advice. I cut a promo as Colby Covington. I send it to him. He does the same promo. He recites it back. He had his sister record it. And then next thing you know, man, he cuts all these I don't know if the promo stuff just made him more comfortable in his skin, but then dude, he just came up with a character. And also Stevie Richards was his trainer at yeah. So I guarantee there's a connection there. And obviously Colby is friends with Chael, and Chael's like the best talker in the business. So there's a core too. I mean, he's got, and I don't think he recites his lines or anything, but I think he has it so dialed in, memorized that he's able to just say whatever off the top. Obviously some of his videos are rehearsed, but whatever. So it's interesting to see how his career's gone, for sure. Whether you fall in line with his politics, you don't, or whatever, blah blah blah. Each his own, but I mean, the way he fights was exactly the way he wrestles, dude. It's the same shit, fucking hand fight. Just nothing but hand fighting. And the same with his jabs. It's all volume, no power. So he's just trying to get those points, man. Similar. It's just the same thing. College wrestling, how it was. Just insane.
That is nuts. Oh my goodness. So we have you and Stevie Richards to thank for Colby Covington. Duly noted.
Yeah. Well, it takes a village. Adam, it takes a village sometimes. So, Rome wasn't built in a day. Colby wasn't either. So it takes the whole character shit takes quite a bit of time for it to develop. And now he's sucked in. He is the gimmick. Colby Chaos Covington. It's crazy, man.
Yep.
Never had to wrestle him. He's too small. So.
It's nutty. It's nutty. Now,
sure.
Rocky Nelson wanted to know. He said, favorite question to ask, but what is your dream match, whether that be in amateur wrestling or in pro wrestling?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for amateur match, it would be someone I'd want to beat. but someone who's pretty good that I think I could beat. Oh, man. I think for amateur wrestling, it would have been crap. You know what? I'll just say this. How about we just go crazy? Let's say Brock Lesnar for both. Brock Lesnar for both. Let's just say Brock Lesnar for both. That would be fun to wrestle in amateur and in pro wrestling. Because why not? He's the only one that does it. Kurt Angle would be tough. I feel like his style. I think Kurt Angle would be fun to wrestle for pro wrestling. Brock may be amateur because Brock was a big, strong guy, but that's it. You know, he doesn't. I've wrestled tons of big, strong guys. Kurt in amateur wrestling, man, he just had those low single attacks. He might blow a knee out. I don't want to wrestle Kurt Angle. He'd be too quick. His amateur, he'd be too quick. But Brock, I can hang with Brock amateur wise. But I would rather wrestle Kurt in pro wrestling. That's my answer. So it's kind of weird. Why would you rather wrestle Brock in amateur when it's just pro wrestling, dude? It seems like fuck it. I'd throw them too. We just throw each other, but I feel like it'd be more fun to wrestle Kurt Angle. That's my answer. Brock amateur.
I like that. I absolutely love it, and I actually kind of played it out in my head as you said it. I was like, that could be cool. That might be cool.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Now,
cutting out there.
Now,
Adam, what'd you say?
Now Sunday, right? I mean, actually, Rocky, there's another one. So, who was or is your inspiration for what you're doing right now?
So, inspiration-wise, that's I think I'm my own inspiration because when I was in developmental for WWE, I did the show called Breaking Ground, and I just was fucked up with this shoulder injuries. I just didn't know what was wrong. I just couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong. Why am I getting all these shoulder injuries? Why is it continually happening? So Breaking Ground, I thought was going to show my comeback, but instead it showed my departure from that company. So the thing that got me was they filmed me getting fired on the show, which really pissed me off. And the thing that pissed me off the most was the head of talent relations, Kane Seaman. He says in the thing, well, his body's just not tough enough to cut out for the help. He just said my body wasn't tough enough to cut out for this business. And I'm like, first off, no, not fucking true. Been wrestling my entire life. Wrestled many people. Like, the problem is, you guys would make me come back too soon because we were under this little itty bitty 3-year contract. Never done this before, so I don't have a lot of time to keep doing this. So you rushed me, and then you're like, it's a factory, man. I'm cogging the wheel. If it's broken, you start up and fix it. So I knew I was going to keep pro wrestling. It's just like, how am I going to keep pro wrestling? And then, I come back to NorCal and the indie scene's here. And it's just, I watched back that tape, and when I left the room in the video, I could tell inside, I was like, I'm going to be back. Not here. I'm going to be back pro wrestling, one way or another. So definitely that inspired me. But I guess what inspired, what style of pro wrestling I have, it's definitely like the Dr. Death, Steve Williams. It's Terry Bam Bam Gordy. It's Gary Albright. It's Corellin. It's like Kurt Angle. It's all these. It's Man Mountain Rock. It's whoever. Max Payne. Just that's that style that those guys do. It's like brawling style. I would say it's Bruiser Brody. Like the way I throw hands, I want to throw hands like Bruiser Brody, just the way his ring presence. You can't teach how he was able to just fucking walk into a ring and just people are fucking terrified of him. Like that's the shit that inspires me. But like my character, as far as pro wrestling wise, it's based off of an old Oregon State heavyweight. that not a lot of people know about, but he was around the same time as Dan Gable era. And some people might remember, if you're an Oregonian, it's Jess Lewis. Now, Jess Lewis wrestled in the same frame as Dan Gable, same time. He went to the Olympics at 18, qualified for the Olympics at heavyweight at 18. You can't wrestle your freshman year during that time in college. You can only wrestle your sophomore, junior, senior year. So he only wrestled his freshman year, makes the Olympic team. Then the next year, he took second in the NCAAs. Then he took first. He took first the following year. So it's like you look at Gable. Gable took first, then loses to Owen in his final match because he never lost a match before. Well, Jess Lewis only lost like one time in college, and then he won one after that. So then this dude, Jess Lewis, is such a badass. He played football for Oregon State too. And he was part of, like, Oregon State was always known for football as like the Giant Killers. There's a game, I don't know if I'm right on my history or not, but there's a game where they're playing USC. And there's OJ fucking was playing for USC at the time. OJ's got the ball. He's running. I could be wrong. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right in this. But it could be just rumor or legend. But apparently, fucking Jess Lewis stops OJ at the 1 yard line. And Oregon State wins the fucking football game. And this is like an Olympian, 2-time national champ, football player, wrestler. So he ends up going, playing for the Oilers. I think it was the Houston Oilers. I could be wrong. But then some shit happens. I think he got into drugs. He just was in a bad place. So he gets let go, similar to how I got let go. But he actually does go to the mountains. He goes to the woods. He's just by himself soaking. He's pissed because he's done all these great things. But then he ends up fucking up in the end. So he's all by himself. And then the former Oregon State wrestling coach at the time, the great Dale Thomas, Dale has to go in the mountains, find this cabin that Jess Lewis bought, and like fucking get him to his senses and be like, you need to come down off this shit. Fucking gets him back to reality, and just gets. And he didn't have playing football or anything. I think he coached a little bit, but now it's like in the movie Rudy, where there's the old like custodian guy. Like that was my old custodian guy. It was just because he was at Oregon State and he was the groundskeeper. So I was like, yeah, it's like Rudy. That's our mythical, mysterious custodian guy. It's Jess Lewis, who's actually like a legit badass. So he's also my inspiration. I love that guy to death. I wish more people knew about him in the amateur wrestling world. But like I said, during that time, nothing but Dan Gable. Everyone's obsessed with Dan Gable, mainly because of his coaching history. I've listened to podcasts with Gable, and Gable goes. He even about that. You know, his history at Iowa is insane. Just I think it was 19 national championships. Like Jesus Christ, insane. But yeah, those are my inspirations. Yeah, I got a list. Definitely have a list. I give myself, all the pro wrestlers I list, and then like Jess Lewis. So cool.
Yeah. And Rocky says, hell yeah, with that answer of Brock Lesnar. Somebody has to be the one to take out the beast incarnate.
Why not? Like, and I said amateur wrestling. And here's the thing. This is a funny story. In the semifinals of my NCAA tournament, I lose by 1 point. I lose 3-4 to a kid from Minnesota named Tony Nelson. Tony Nelson, great guy, 4-time All-American, 2-time NCAA champion. I watched there's this UFC highlight video, and you just see Brock and this big jack guy just going at it in the wrestling room. Like, this guy's getting takedowns on Brock, Brock's getting takedowns on him, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, it's Tony Nelson. I'm like, I wrestled that guy. It's just hilarious that Tony was in the highlight video of Brock training for, I think it was, what's his name? The big New Zealand guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
Islander.
Well, I remember.
It was at
Oh no,
UFC.
that's Tony Jones. Because I was going to say the shooter, but no, that's Tony Jones.
No, Tony Jones is he's a good dude too. I like Tony. He's up in SF. No, it wasn't Tony Jones. Brock was taking on. This is gonna bug me. Oh, sorry about the airplane. He's the New Zealand guy, bleached hair on top.
Oh,
Just walk up.
Shane Thorne.
No,
Right,
no,
Mikey
it wasn't
Nichols.
Shane. Are you thinking of Shane Carwin? Anyway, but it was one of those highlight videos, and it was just crazy seeing.
Oh wait, Jonah Rock. Jonah Rock, isn't it?
No, it's that. That's the NXT kid.
Oh, fuck! I'm scoring off. I'm striking out of this shit.
It's okay. It's not. This isn't Who to Brock's Fight podcast. This is According to Woods podcast. So, for sure. But
Damn.
yeah, man, just. But I would totally. You know?
Now, in terms of, I mean, Sunday night, right? That's rapidly reaching upon us, right? That day. What are people going to see out of the Grizzly, Kal Jak at Bloodsport?
Grizzly, Kal Jack. You know, my main goal is just to. I just want people to just something not to say see different, but I just want to make an impact. I just want people to have like, oh fuck, did you see that? Did you see Kal Jak? There's some good shit from that guy. Like impressive, like good grappler, good thrower. You know, I'm not gonna say submission wise, but you know I can hold my own. You know, I definitely can, and just want to make an impact and just have people remember some of the shit I do at the show. You know, because the talent is just it's so good. There's so much talent, and just to be within that talent pool, you know, I'm like it's amazing. You know, the guys on the card, it's stacked. You know, I was looking at it the other day. You know, you can't not, and it's like, man, just the fact that I'm somewhere in that card of guys. So to share the canvas, the mat, the ring, whatever, you know, I just want to at least make an impact. It's going to be hard because man, there's some great talent on that show. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's been, like I said, 8-month hiatus. I haven't had the chance to pro wrestle or whatever. It's even pro wrestling, catch wrestling or the submission style in a while. So getting that opportunity just to be in Bloodsport, man, I just hope people enjoy the show and I make some kind of lasting memory for them. And, you know, if I do, mission accomplished. If I don't, whatever. At least I got to do it. But my goal is just to go out there and have a great performance. You know, that's definitely number one. You know, that's for sure.
I love it.
Like, you know, Eric
I
Hammer,
love it.
no slack.
I absolutely love it. Now, I got to ask, right? So, obviously, you're facing Eric Hammer, right? He has challenged Corinne Jacobs with a World Catch Wrestling Association title, right? He is a training partner of the War Master Josh Barnett. Not to divulge too much of your game plan, but I mean, like, what is kind of the mindset kind of going into that fight with Hammer?
You know, he's he's accomplished dude, and you know he has the experience advantage over me for sure. As far as competing in Bloodsport, I mean, props to him for always wrestling with Barnett. I've also had my fair share of excellent workout partners and trainees. You know, so it's really that part doesn't matter to me. You know, world champion catch wrestler. You know, hey man, I took 5th at Junior Field Worlds when I was 19. I was top 10 on the Olympic ladder at that same time. You know, I rolled with really good guys. Like I said, you know, mentioned James Cormier. I wrestled Tervel Wagner, who's a bronze Olympic medalist, trained with him for a whole month. I've faced many great world level wrestlers. So to me, doesn't matter where you are as far as on that type of level. It doesn't matter to me. For me, it's just another match. You know, you could be a world champion one day, and then you could lose to a nobody. And then, like they say, you're only as good as your last match. So that doesn't matter what you were at some point in time. So props to Eric Hammer. Looking at the guy, he's a physical specimen. He's jacked. He's got the experience factor on me. But this is the one thing I've always learned. The ring doesn't know how old you are. The ring doesn't know how good you are. And the ring doesn't care about your experience. So all that shit gets thrown out Sunday. We are meeting on even playing field. So it truly, it is what it is. That's how I look at it, you know?
Oh, no, I love it.
The one
And
thing I
that's
definitely have to do. No, go on.
No, I love that you said that the mat, the ring, whatever you want to, whatever euphemism or what you want to call it, whether it's boxing, wrestling, MMA, catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, you run down the gamut. Doesn't matter what it is. When you step on that mat, that canvas, that's the ultimate truth teller. That's every story that you've ever told. That's going to be either what's going to make it valid or invalid right there, what you show on it. And don't think that you can come in because you were resting on your laurels and who you beat and whatever and not get beat the next time you step on.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter at that point, you know. I could say I've beaten and sparred with all these big guys. I could wrestle somebody I don't have a clue with, and you can just mop the floor with me. So in the end, you're only as good as your best day, and you better hope Sunday is going to be my best. I'm gonna hope that Sunday is my best day. You know, despite of whatever. There are no excuses in the end. You just show up, show out, get out, and go.
Hell yes. Now, as you make the march to Bloodsport on Sunday night, where can people find you on social media so they can check out what the Grizzly, Kal Jak, is doing?
So the only place you can really find me is on Twitter. My Twitter handler is Kal Jak. It's Kal_Jack, spelled KL_JAK. There's no C's in Kal Jak. My first name doesn't start with a C. There's no C in Jack. Because you know what? C's are average. We're not average. There's no C's in the name. So it's just Kal Jak. I had an Instagram. I deleted it. I don't really care for Instagram. Not anymore. It's just not my thing. And Facebook, I have a like page for Facebook. And, that's all you need to do is find me on Twitter. Just find me on Twitter. That's all the place that matters.
And if they want more of you, again, we warmly encourage you to purchase Josh Barnett's Bloodsport for $19.99 on Fight TV, and that airs live on the Fight TV app as a part of the GCW Collective on Sunday night, October 11th for $19.99. That's as the old timers say it, it's a hell of a deal. It's absolutely a hell of a deal. And you're going to see probably the best pure wrestling that you're going to see in all of the pro wrestling universe. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're going to get nothing but the best on this show. We have a hell of a card. And I'm just excited to be included in it. Very cool.
I got to ask you before we go, right? I mean, obviously, the match with Hammer is crazy, right? But as a fan, right, aside from yours, are there any matches or bouts that you are looking forward to?
I was looking at the lineup. I want to watch you just had him on the show. I want to watch Calvin Takeman versus the Prince of Pain. I forget his name. You just had him on the show. I should know his name. Shame on me. I'm looking forward to that match because I want to see what these two guys I'm not totally familiar with. I want to see what they bring to the table. I'm really excited, So that's a match I want to watch. And I really like Davey Boy Smith Jr. He takes grappling very, very seriously, and I want to see his match as well. So, and then Lawler, Homicide. That's gonna be a fun match. And I'm curious to see what Simon Grimm does too, because that guy's he's all over the place. I love him. So those are my matches I'm excited for. You know what? Screw it. There is no match I like more. I want to see all the matches. So every match to me is going to be exciting. Why single any out? All the matches. Moxley versus anybody. I don't care. I'm excited for all the matches.
No, same here. All of them. Yeah. This is literally my dream card of combat sports athletes in pro wrestling. And I say that every year, and it sounds a little bit redundant, but ever since that first incarnation with Matt Riddle, and then even more so with Barnett, kind of through three iterations, it is amazing. It is the most. Bloodsport right now, even though it's not a continuous wrestling promotion, it is my favorite promotion in North America right now.
It's what I want to do. If it turns into a continuous promotion, cool. I like it maybe once or twice a year because it gives it that mystique to it. I think it's an event. It's not a show. And right now it's Bloodsport week, and I'm just happy to be in this event for sure.
No one. 100%. I'm happy. I'm happy that you're competing on it, and I'm happy that we're literally days away. We're days away from Bloodsport, and that is, literally I've been waiting for this since March when it was supposed to happen during Mania weekend, but obviously COVID happened. But I just cannot wait. But thank you guys for watching us. Kal, thank you for joining us here, and you can catch the Grizzly Kal Jak this Sunday against Eric Hammer for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport live on Fight TV. But this has been According to Woods with the Grizzly Kal Jak, and we are. Wait, I was supposed to do something.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to